It was a very, very difficult experience, both physically, spiritually, emotionally. But it is a beautiful experience because, again, that is where this awakening in my life took place. My first language is Spanish, but I am not fluent, not anymore, because I suppressed so much about my past. It was a painful awareness because I don't have good memories with my mother. I was abused in every way that you can be abused. So I grew up just very ashamed of being adopted. And then once I entered into my first marriage and I got pregnant with my daughter, I came to this realization that I knew the best thing for her at the time was to be adopted. I'm very empathetic, and I knew I was going to have a tough time with this. Even before I had her, I grew up, it was all Caucasian people. I almost felt this sense of shame for who I was because I didn't fit in. And I found my birth mother. She was in a jail, and I didn't even remember. I had testified against her in court when I was 6 years old, and I was responsible for putting her in jail.
And welcome, dear listeners from around the world, to another episode of the Oliver Schirach Show. And today I'm experimenting a little bit because I have a very long interview with my guest Trina, the Sol High Priestess Rising from Instagram. And this is like the first part out of probably 4, perhaps 5 episodes that will come out as I work on them. And in this first episode, you will get to know Trina, where she's from, what is her pain, what is her journey from adoption to Kundalini awakening. So she shares with us where this whole story started for her with being aware and awaken. She shares with us her family story, how she has been adopted, and how she gave one of her own children for adoption and why. So without any further ado, please listen to this first episode and stay tuned for the next episodes as they will come as I work on them. Have a great day. There we are. We are started, and welcome to another episode from my show, the Oliver Schirach Show, where I'm going out to find interesting people to talk about to help you catch your dreams, basically. People which were sleepwalking, let's put it that way, and then finally got the courage or the push to go for their dreams and started living a better life. And hopefully they can inspire you to do the same and catch and grab those dreams. So today we have Trina, which I found somehow on Instagram. I have no idea how, but she was suddenly there with some reels, and I thought like, okay, what is your story? And she's like, okay, I come on your show. Let's have a talk about it. And there we are.
Yeah, here we are. Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. And I have no idea where to start. I just know it's a journey of awakening. And I can see there's several eyes around you, and you have several videos where you share about like, hey, you're lovable and you're good the way you are. And so I'm really curious. And the pre-show started funny. We had some issues on your side with the hearing me. Then when we finally sat down, I tipped over my big glass of hot tea over my pants and everything. So, and you shared about your name, because here it's Trina, on the email is on the Instagram it's Tiger Lily and High Priestess or Trinity. So tell me, what's it about these names?
Yeah, so first things first, thank you for having me. I appreciate you. And I'm a big believer in that nothing happens by coincidence ever. So however we found each other, it was meant to be. So I'm grateful for you, and I'm grateful for this opportunity. So yes, the thing about names, again, I was explaining earlier, I'm just really different. I'm going to be way different than anybody you've ever met. And I believe names are really important. And I believe that we can name ourselves if we want. So I was given the birth name of Trina. I've had many last names, so I never give my last name because it's always changing apparently. But Tiger Lily, that's what I go by right now on Instagram. Trinity, like from the Matrix, just here to wake everybody up with my own story, is another one that I go by. But honestly, call me whatever.
Yeah, I was thinking, Trina. Do you know the meaning of Trina? The name?
So, the interesting is this. I don't know the meaning of my name. I've never looked it up. I'm not one of these people who I think I need to go find the answer all the time to things. I really think the answers are within me. But I'll tell you just a really quick backstory about my name. I'm adopted, and my birth mother, who has since passed, and I know my father, his name was Trinidad, and I'm his first child, and he wanted to name me Trinidad. And my mom was like, "Are you crazy? This is a girl. We're going to name her Trina." So that's how my name came about, but I don't know the exact meaning of it.
Okay. Yeah. So yeah, nothing is by coincidence, right? It sounded like Trinidad, but there's a meaning behind. So
Wow.
thank you for that. Because some people know more about their name and they go really
They
deep.
do.
And I had to ask. So to get to know you, because I really don't know you, it's like, how would you describe yourself in 3 words? And I have the feeling like these 3 words are specifically different now than they have been perhaps 5, 10, 20 years ago.
Yes. Okay, 3 words to describe me. Survivor,
Okay.
leader,
Okay.
and intuitive. Oh, no, that's okay. I was saying let's change the word leader to light.
Why these 3 words?
The 3 words, because it's funny you say they may be different than they were, 10 years ago. I'd say most of those words are actually still the same. So survivor, because I've been surviving. I have been conquering and overcoming since I came into this world, even before I came into this world. I would say light, because I have discovered that that's who we all are innately. But specifically, that is the purpose of my life. And that is who I am. I believe I'm a light. I believe I help other people's lights come on to make a way. And I would say intuitive, because I have discovered about myself these things that I always thought, or I always knew that I was. And I had no clue that everybody else wasn't intuitive, or had these spiritual gifts, as I call them. But I've had them my whole life, and they have developed more and more and more over the last year, especially because I've gone through a lot of life changes in the last year, and what I would consider a Kundalini awakening in the last year.
Okay. Now I have to call myself a little back. Just want to see what you would answer on that. A question I used to ask is like a color. If you would be a new color in a coloring box, and it could be any color, what color would you be and why?
Wow. You have no idea how significant that is for me right now. I have been preaching this idea of rainbows for a few months now. And that color is always changing. So what color would I choose for myself right now? Yellow. Yellow. And why? Oh, and look, you're wearing yellow. Wow. Yellow. Because I believe that yellow is it's a light. It's a guiding light. It feels happy. I'm a Leo. So the sun, right? We typically think of it as yellow or orange, which again is the light. So yellow.
Okay. Now I also can see why you call yourself leader in the beginning, because a Leo, they
Yes.
are natural leaders normally, right?
Yes. Yes, exactly.
And I was so close of asking what is your star sign, and then I'm like, no, I'm not going to go for that.
Well, I'm a really, really proud of all of my signs. So I'll always tell you, don't worry.
Yeah, I'm Aries, so I'm going head down through the wall.
So I'm a Leo sun and Aries moon. and a Scorpio rising.
Okay. I'm not so good in all these things. I had the last interview last week was on astrology and astro art. So there's a lot of open questions I couldn't ask because we had time limit.
Yeah.
And there's numerology and there's human design and there's key genes and there's
All of
the whole Ayurvedic teachings and the traditional Chinese and it's kind of like part of my almost everyday life when I'm not at work or school, because then I don't want to hear about these things.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm super into the sun signs and the numerology. I love it.
Okay, perhaps let's see where we go with this talk. So you're a rainbow color changing, and right now you're yellow. And
Yes.
then the third question I used to ask when I started up the podcast some years ago, five and a half years, it's a secret. Not many people know about you.
Cool.
You would be ready to share.
Yeah. Okay. Yes. Man. Okay. So typically this would be a difficult question for me because I am a very open book. I tend to share all of the things. But something that people don't know about me, I'm a birth mother. I have a child who I gave up for adoption some years ago. And this is something that is deeply, deeply personal about me that I have very, very few people know. Very few people know about me because I'm also adopted. And it's always been one of those things that I almost felt this like sense of shame about. And because of that, I've never really told people about it because of how I felt I would be perceived or viewed. And so until you've asked me, this is really something I've not really opened up or shared with people about. So people would be probably surprised to know that because I also have 5 children that people will probably be like, wow, you have a 6th child somewhere? Yes, I do. I do.
Wow. So you're what, 55 years old that you have so many kids, or?
You would think with all of this, this is brand new too. Well, no, I'm 39. So I started a little young and I got them all boom, 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 boom in my 20s.
Wow.
And stopped in my very early 30s. And that was always my goal, to be honest. I was like, I don't want to have kids when I'm in my 30s. So I fulfilled that goal, didn't I?
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
I was 33. No, my daughter is 33 when I had my daughter. So and
One.
and
One.
35 with my son. So I was like older than you, but I'm a man, right? So it's
Yeah.
also a bit different.
Yes.
Wow, 6 kids and a birth mother. So that's how you call it. I have a friend I interviewed a few years back. He's Russian American, and his wife was carrying the child of another family. But there's a lot of trauma in that situation. Not going into there. So, but how is it for you to be a birth mother? Did you carry, was it planned or that you give the kid away,
Wasn't.
or?
So this is actually ties into a very integral part of my story. So I was married, and I actually for an affair. I had an affair, and was very. I mean, this is part of the reason why I've never opened up about it because it was such a shameful thing, and I got pregnant with this child, and I did not connect with her at all as a little girl. Throughout my pregnancy because I was so embarrassed. I was so ashamed. And with my husband at the time, my partner, I made the decision that the best thing for me to do was to give her up for adoption. I just felt at that point in my life, I'm not ready to do this. This wasn't something that I had planned at all. And I struggled. Oh, I struggled with the decision to do it because I'm adopted. And I know the implications of being a child who is adopted. So I was really, really unsure of how to do this. But I felt, and this is when I really started having an awakening in my life, I felt this was the right thing to do. I needed to do this. And so it was a very difficult journey. But when I made the decision to do it, the moment I surrendered and I let go of the decision to give this little girl to a different family, I went into preterm labor 2.5 months early. So
What?
yes, I had her very, very early. She was just over 2 pounds. And her mother, who was a wonderful friend of mine to this day, flew down from where she lived, and she was able to be there with me after I had her. But it was a very, very difficult experience, both physically, spiritually, emotionally. But it is a beautiful experience because, again, that is where this awakening in my life took place.
Wow. So you say you're still friend with the mother which adopted your daughter, and
Yeah.
you have met your daughter, or you keep distance?
Well, it is the way that we started it was going to initially be what we call here in America a closed adoption. That's where you don't have any information about the child. The child has no information about you. And believe it or not, I am the one who made that decision. I'm very empathetic, and I knew I was going to have a tough time with this. Even before I had her, I wasn't even connected with her emotionally, believe it or not, until the moment I had her and the floodgates open. And I was like, oh my gosh. But I initially wanted it to be closed because I knew my capacity to love. And I had met her mother, or I'd spoken with her mother several times on the phone. And she was so worried that I may change my mind. And I had heard her story where she had had a child that she adopted, and the mother, a couple days before this 30-day period where she was allotted time to change her mind, she changed her mind. And she had already, bonded with this child. And I didn't want to do that to her. I didn't want to inflict any pain on her because she had just lost her mother a month prior to me making this decision to ever adopt my daughter. And so I made the decision to close it. But as soon as I had her, and her mother and I met face to face, and her husband and I met face to face, we all jointly made the decision to open the adoption up, where I would have access to my daughter would have access to me. And believe it or not, I have not met her yet. I have not spoken to her on the phone yet either. But that is all done by design. She has heard my voice. I have called her and left her a voicemail. I just haven't felt, and I now commend myself for this decision. I was not in the space where I felt I wanted or was able to communicate with her and give her all of me in a way that she deserved. And again, I now think that was the best decision because she is 10 years old. And through this 10-year period, I have been growing, learning, evolving, having children, more children of my own. I got remarried, and that marriage ended up to be a marriage that was not conducive to my growth, to me physically as a human. And I'm very big in energetics. I believe in protecting my space, but not only my space, the space of the people that I love. And she would not have benefited from my energy at this point in time until now. So I do feel I'm at a space where her and I would be really good to meet, to talk. But I commend myself for holding my energy, and her mother understands. She also understands. She knows who I am. I know who she is. We have a very good relationship with her mother through her mother, with pictures and audio messages and updates on one another's lives. But I just didn't feel like I was ready, and I didn't feel like she would benefit from my communication up until now.
Wow. And it sounds like she has a good adoptive mother there to take care of her.
she does. She's a wonderful woman, a wonderful woman. She was actually not able to have children of her own. And she's very much the same as me, where she doesn't believe in putting a lot of chemicals in her body. So she didn't want to do IVF because she believes what is meant for her is meant for her. And I believe that wholeheartedly as well. So we're very like-minded. She's a wonderful, wonderful woman. She's been, this is her first marriage, but her husband's second marriage. Her husband has 2 other children. This child is his 3rd child and her first child together. It's a beautiful symbiotic arrangement between the 3 of us.
Wow. Yeah, but that sounds like it's great. I've never talked to someone about which gave away their children like that. So
Yeah.
how was it for you then to be you said it was hard. You had the feeling to be labeled or judged of being an adopted kid. So was it
Yes.
hard for you to grow up with the family? Did you meet you said your mother died or passed away.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
did you ever meet and talk to them or?
Oh, yes, yes. So this is a bit of a story. I have always had the awareness and knowing that I am adopted. I was adopted later on in life when I turned 9 years old, but I was placed in what we call the foster care system when I was 6, almost 7 years old. So
Oh,
I grew up with my family. I know who they are. And it was a situation where I was physically abused. I was abused in all of the ways. We'll just put it that way. I was abused in every way that you can be abused. And my mother was just very young. She was about 15 when she had my first sibling, and she had been abused herself. So I would call myself a generational curse breaker because I am one of the first to start breaking these curses, these belief systems that we don't have to live by anymore as adopted children. But I always had an awareness of who she was. And honestly, it was a painful awareness because I don't have good memories with my mother, to be quite honest. I was more so the caretaker of her rather than her the caretaker of me. I was also the caretaker of my siblings, who were adopted alongside with me. 2 of them were 2 girls. And my other 2 siblings were separated from me. But it was painful uh, growing up adopted for several reasons. Because even though my mother did not show up in the ways that I wished she had, she did her best. I always had this awareness of her. I still wanted a relationship with her. I craved this relationship with her because as a child, we all crave to know where we come from. And I was no different, even though I knew she was not in terms of the world, she wasn't best suited for me at the time. She did her best. And I knew that even as a young child, I knew that there was something else to discover about her. So growing up, I'm Hispanic, so I'll back up there. My mom is from Mexico. My dad, I believe, is from Spain, Portugal area. And I grew up in a Caucasian family with a mother, just one mother, no father. And that was hard for me because I always wanted a father. I always desired to have a dad, to have a man to lead me, protect me, especially because of the things that I went through in my life. And because I looked different than my mother and where I grew up, it was all Caucasian people. I have black hair. I was a lot darker. And then everyone around me, I almost felt this sense of shame for who I was because I didn't fit in. I was adopted. Everybody else had a mom and a dad. Everybody was Caucasian. I was Hispanic. So I had this sense of shame. I've carried shame a lot with me throughout my life. It seemed to be this pattern of thinking that I'm not deserving, that I should be ashamed of who I am, which is the total opposite of who I am now. But so I was always very embarrassed that I was Hispanic. I used to straighten my hair. I used to beg my mom to let me dye my hair blonde, to change my name to something like Kim, something that just sounded different because I knew my name Trina was different. And so I grew up just very ashamed of being adopted. And then once I entered into my first marriage, and I had that moment where I got pregnant with my daughter, and I came to this realization that I knew the best thing for her at the time was to be adopted. The shame continued. It just continued and continued, and it got bigger and it got bigger. Um, and to back it up from there, when I turned 18 years old, I decided I was going to find my mother, my birth mother. And I snuck into my mom's room. I broke open her file cabinet because I knew that she had information about my life in there. And there was a stack of papers probably this big, and I took it and I left for days, and I read and I read and I read, and a lot of it had been whited out. But I'm intuitive, and I know things. And so I started remembering. Remembering is a very big theme for me. I started remembering all these things about my life, and I was able to, if you can believe it or not, put every puzzle piece together, even all the names being whited out. And I found my birth mother. She was in a jail at the time, and I didn't even remember. I had testified against her in court when I was 6 years old, and I was responsible for putting her in jail. My siblings and I, because of the things that I testified her against, about her against. And I was very afraid to write her, but I did. I wrote her a very long letter explaining to her who I was, because I didn't know she would remember me. And I told her, I don't remember everything. I remember a lot of things. And I just want you to know that no matter what, I forgive you and that I love you. And I want a relationship with you. I want to know everything about you. I want to know about your life, and I want you to know about my life. And I sent that letter off, and I waited. It felt like a long time, a month though, in actuality, for a letter to come back. And I got a letter back from her. And that's where it started. And one of the first things she said to me is, of course, I remember you. I think about you every day on your birthday. I think about you every holiday. I love you. I forgive you. I miss you. And that's where it started. We began to write each other back and forth, and she was released from jail. And I actually went out and I visited her a year later. I drove all night long. It was 16 hours from Georgia all the way, nonstop. I just straight there. And I'll tell you, it was an experience I will never forget, seeing my mother for the first time. I was exhausted. I was shaking. I was terrified. And this little, small, tiny, 4'11" Hispanic woman who looked just like me, short hair, came walking out this door, just bouncing out, coming out, arms wide open to hug me. And it's a moment I'll never forget. I'll never forget it to the day I die. And I dropped everything and I ran. I ran and I hugged her. And I told her, I love you, I love you, I love you, I forgive you. It's okay, it's okay, it's okay. Because she was sobbing and she fell to her knees and I fell to my knees. And I had my 2 sisters with me that I brought from Georgia with me. It was a moment I'll never forget. I'll never forget. But that's how it went. And if you have any questions off of that, happy to answer them.
Wow. I mean, there's a lot of questions for in every direction. I mean, so you said you started puzzling things back together, but you said you were 6 years old when you testified. I mean, I have my own kids, 10 and 13, and you were adopted at the age of 9. you pretty much you could be independent in some cultures at that age,
Yes.
right? So what happened? Did you just suppress all the memories
You know,
from?
here's the thing. I remember so much, but even to this day, and I'm 39 years old now, but even to this day, I'm still remembering things. But yes, I did. I suppressed a lot of the things that I didn't want to remember about my mother, because I think all of us, regardless of our upbringing, we want to see our parents in this light, right? We want to believe that they want the best for us. But we also want to believe, because society and the world has taught us that when we have parents and you become a parent, you just know it all and you know everything and you're perfect, right? Where you and I know, well, not true. That's not even somewhat true. And
No.
so because of that belief system that had been instilled in my mind by the world and by those around me, I chose to suppress a lot about me. So here's one really wild example of suppression. My first language is Spanish, but I am not fluent, not anymore, because I suppressed so much about my past that when I was 6 years old, I forgot how to speak Spanish. It's wild, right? It's like a defense mechanism or something, like a protective mechanism for myself. But when I'm around others who speak Spanish, it's like I remember, and it's like it's my first language again. But when I'm not around those families specifically, I can't really speak it fluently with you, but I can understand what you're saying. Isn't that wild?
Okay. Bien, hablamos español.
Yeah.
But yeah, for me, okay, I'm not fluent in Spanish most of the time, but I've been in Ecuador and I could handle it very well. It's just because I'm not using it. So I'm actually
Yeah.
listening to podcasts in Spanish. Today was children's stories in Spanish or Latino, because Spain Spanish and Mexican Spanish, which is normally used for Latino, is not exactly the same. But this is really interesting. I mean, from my growth and my journey of depression, suicidal thoughts, or very close of actually trying to do suicide, you go down these different rabbit holes of different TED Talks, of different podcasts, of different books, of different stories. I've never really talked to someone with a story like yours, and so that's why I'm asking. So it is a defense mechanism, and so I think this is all important for the awakening story, for the Kundalini, for everything that's going on, because you also call yourself a breaker. And I couldn't help it, but while you talked, I just put meaning of Trina. And Trina means triple, right? Three trilogies. Love swings in threes. I don't know if that makes any sense for you. But that was just like the short thing about Trina. It's about three, and I don't know. It's like when I listen to it, you were very young as a mother. Your birth mother was very young as a mother. I don't know. Do you know your grandmothers or grandparents?
I
Have they had
do. I
similar
do.
stories?
Yeah. So my birth grandmother.
Yeah.
Yes, I do. So now here's the thing. My father, whom I believe to be my father, he actually passed away too recently. But the interesting
Oh.
thing is I've been married twice. My first marriage, my first divorce, my mother passed away. My second divorce, my father passed away. It's wild. But my father, whom I believe to be my father, his mother, I did know. She actually raised me. She did a lot of the raising from the time I was born to the time I was 6. But I don't remember a lot about her. I remember her to be very nurturing in spirit, very loving. My mother's mother, I know her, but I don't really have a relationship with her, and I don't really remember her very much. I know her because I met her again at my mother's funeral. But we didn't really connect a whole lot. She's the one who she went through a lot of things in her life, right? And as a result of that, my mother moved away when she was 14. She lived in a sign at a restaurant under a billboard sign. There was a metal enclosure. And she asked the restaurant worker, hey, can I live here and work in the restaurant for you? If I can live in your sign. And so she actually ran away from home to get away from her own mother. So I don't know much about my grandmother from that side. I haven't really talked to her a lot. My father's mother, I have. And I've only really talked to her one time since I've seen her from the funeral, my mother's funeral. But I do remember her. Very nurturing, very loving, very caring. She cared for my brother and I, who my brother and I actually are separated now. He did not get adopted with me. Him and my older sister were left behind in Georgia. And me and my two younger sisters, they came along with me.
So you were adopted by the same family, all three of you.
All three of us,
Wow.
me and my two younger sisters.
And you said you felt different. Now you had your two younger sisters with you, so and you still felt different than the rest in the family that adopted you.
Say, what was that?
Because you were adopted with your two sisters, so you had someone which looked alike, being Hispanic, but it still brought shame to you. It still, or you felt ashamed.
It did, and I'll tell you why. Because my sisters have different fathers than I do, so because of that, we actually look vastly different, all three of us. And the thing is, we all have like the same eyes. You can tell we're sisters from that. But my sister, just under me, she looks very Caucasian, much more Caucasian than I do. Her skin tone is much lighter than I do. I would say she's got more Caucasian features than I do. And my sister under that, she looks very dark, right? She looks like she's almost from like the islands. She's very dark. So even with that, we all look different. Again, the rainbow is always a big thing for me because it's always been very big overarching theme in my life. I've always felt like I'm not too big, I'm not too small, I'm right in the middle. And that's been the theme of my life. I've always I don't look super dark like my youngest sister, but I don't look super Caucasian like my other sister, kind of right in the middle. So because of that, I always felt like, man, I am one of a kind. I now know that to be my superpower. But yes, I've always still felt very alone in everything, including my appearance. Yes.
Your sisters look so different to you. How did they then feel? Did you ever talk about it now that you've grown up?
Yeah, I do. I have. So I would tell you, I am what we call in America the black sheep of the family. So I'm always trying to talk to my sisters about these things. Like, how do you feel? And I think just because of them and their personalities, and we're all different people with different ways of handling and coping with trauma, they're very different than I am. They don't open up as much as I do. So for them, I don't really know how they dealt with that. I will tell you from an intuitive space, without going too much into their energy, because I haven't asked their permission for it, I can tell you that I know they have felt their own sense of shame. I can tell you, I know they've both felt their own sense of isolation because of being adopted, because of looking different. I don't know exactly what that is, what that means for them and how it translates in their walks, because I am vastly different than anybody in my family. I will tell you that. Very different.